Over the last few weeks, the one player that's been linked to the New York Knicks has to be Dejounte Murray. And according to reports, the Knicks are trying their best to acquire Murray and get him in the backcourt with Jalen Brunson. However, thanks to an update from an NBA insider, we now know there is a key to the New York Knicks pulling off this trade with the Atlanta Hawks. And that key to this trade happening is Quentin Grimes. We're going to break down this entire report and so much more today. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. Grimes is the key to getting a Dejounte Murray deal done. Now, this is a very important report here because a lot of us thought when the New York Knicks gave up Emmanuel quickly in the deal for OG Anunoby that it might have hurt their chances of landing Dejounte Murray because maybe they didn't have the assets the Hawks wanted. We knew the Hawks wanted picks, but apparently the Hawks just don't want picks. They also want young assets too. And apparently they've had their eye on Quentin Grimes for a very long time. Shout out to my guy Jake Fisher, who I recently had on the show. He dropped a news article recently called Dejounte Murray is emerging as perhaps the most likely all-star caliber talent to be moved by this trade deadline. Here's his exact quote about the New York Knicks and their attempts of getting Dejounte Murray. New York is looking at various avenues to upgrade its point guard depth behind Jalen Brunson, according to Jake Fisher. While the Knicks are also continuing to evaluate center options because of Mitchell Robinson's ankle surgery. Although, with Murray in favor of a fresh start, according to sources with knowledge of the situation, it seems questionable that adding a former All-Star to pair with another ball-dominant lead guard like Brunson would have much different results than Murray's partnership with Young. Of note, when Atlanta and New York discussed the 2022 trade that brought Cam Reddish to the Knicks, the Hawks valued Quentin Grimes during those trade talks. Shout out to my guy Jake Fisher for dropping this major information for us and giving us this update on the New York Knicks, potentially what they're going to look to do in the trade season, but not only that, what the key to potentially getting a Dejounte Murray deal done. And as you heard, when the New York Knicks were going to trade for Cam Reddish, at that time, the Hawks valued and coveted Quentin Grimes. You can anticipate now coming into this year how Quentin Grimes has looked. Even though he struggled a little bit on offense, you can see coming off the bench, his defense, all of those things, all of the reasons why the Hawks wanted him before, they probably want him now for those same reasons. And if anything, those reasons have just intensified because of his play and because after just getting a little bit better year after year, people are going to want you and desire you a little bit more. And I think that's exactly what's happening from the Hawks because it does seem like if the Hawks are going to want to make a trade with the Knicks, they're going to want young assets back, even though Evan Fournier and Dejounte Murray make basically the same amount of money. So if you wanted, you could just trade those two and a lot of picks in order to get a Murray deal done. But it doesn't seem like that's what the Hawks want to do. From the Hawks' perspective, it seems like they want to get picks, they want to get young players, and they want to be able to move money this offseason. Evan Fournier gives you that contract control. You waive him this offseason, he's off the books. Quentin Grimes gives you the young talent that you need. And the New York Knicks are loaded with picks, both protected and unprotected. So we have everything legitimately that the Hawks would want to get a deal done. The only thing you have to ask yourself is, are you comfortable with giving up Quentin Grimes in a deal? Because if you are, then potentially you can go out and get Dejounte Murray plus one. Maybe that plus one is Sadiq Bey. Maybe that plus one is AJ Griffin. I just dropped the video about AJ Griffin. Shout out to you guys for watching that video. If you haven't checked it out yet, go ahead and check that video out. Because if you don't know who AJ Griffin is, if you don't know why he would be a great fit for this Knicks team and the impact that he would have on this team, do yourself a favor. Go watch that video and understand why AJ would be great if you could trade for him alongside Dejounte Murray. However, at this point in time, though, according to Jake Fisher, they are looking for guards. They are looking to upgrade the guard position in the backcourt to help them get better and pair another guard with Jalen Brunson. However, according to the report that he gave me when I had him on the show, it doesn't seem like they're trying to fill a Dejounte Murray-sized hole. Instead, they look like they're just trying to replace Immanuel Quickley and what he meant to this team when he was on the roster. According to Jake Fisher, this is what he stated exactly on the Knicks and their next trade target and potentially why Murray may not be that player. According to him, he states, I mean, New York's definitely in the running for him. I think they're definitely interested in Dejounte. I just don't know if they're going to be as motivated to acquire him as other teams that have an actual hole in their backcourt, whereas the Knicks are just trying to add around Brunson. If you've watched the Knicks over the last few games, even if you take into account the loss to Dallas, over the last 6 games, watching this Knicks team, they look great. They look efficient. They have been waxing teams, mopping them, beating them by dozen points or more. So I can't say I've been unhappy with the Knicks and the move that they've been making. However, if you've been watching them though, you also know that when they go to the bench, they need more help because they keep running out there Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, or some combination of one of them. And when they don't and they just leave it to OG Anunoby or a couple of those other players, oftentimes it doesn't work. He has to call a timeout, Tom Thibodeau anyways, and then we have to go out and put out another starter with that unit to potentially hope that we can get more scoring from that unit and help the starters rest long enough for that way they can come into the game a little bit better than they were last time they were in it. So I think that's the decisions that we have to make. And if we look at the team like that, then it's a very clear, obvious hole. The Knicks need more scoring from their bench that they can rely on and that's consistent. And if you think about a bench player, is that a star player or is that a depth player, a role player? If you think about it like that, you think about how this Knicks team has looked, and you also think about how frugal this front office has been. Before this OG trade, they didn't really do any type of trade worth talking about. So this OG trade is the biggest that we've seen. To think we're going to see another massive trade after this OG trade happened, it's a little hard to believe. They have the assets to do it, and they absolutely can do it, and clearly they're having conversations to do a type of move like that. But if their only need is to help stabilize the backcourt when Jalen Brunson is resting, then that's a role player need, not a Dejounte Murray type of deal need. And in my opinion, Dejounte would be perfect with this Knicks team. I want him here. But if I'm the Knicks and I'm thinking about it and I'm looking at this team and I'm thinking to myself, a long list of other superstar level talent might be available this offseason. If I'm thinking about it like that and I'm the Knicks, I might go out there and get a Brogdon or get somebody that's going to help shore up our bench and help us be more contenders than we are right now in the Eastern Conference. And then see what we do in the playoffs, identify the gaps, and then come this offseason, fill in those gaps. Not only that, but see if we can get a superstar player that becomes disgruntled this offseason. And the Knicks are going to have a lot of assets available if and when that star player asks out. But if they use those assets now on a player like Dejounte Murray, a player that they may not necessarily need right now, then when that star asks out, they may not have the assets available to go after him. Again, if you're the Knicks, it's a gamble either way. If you do it, you get Murray and you take a chance on it working. If you don't do it and you don't get Murray, you risk ever getting him again, and now you have to go into the offseason hoping that somebody better than Murray is available for you to trade for. So there is a risk and a gamble on both sides. But in my opinion, Murray is the move to make because he just makes so much sense with Jalen Brunson and what the Knicks are trying to build with that starting unit. But Dante gets pushed to the bench, and that's why it works as well too. Because you take that scoring that he's giving this starting unit, and you put it to the bench. And now that bench has that type of scoring that you need when Jalen and Julius need a rest. That's the type of plays the Knicks need to make. Those are the type of moves the Knicks need to make. So any moves that help the Knicks rest Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle more, I'm all for it. But is that going to be a star player or a role player? That's really the question to ask right now. All reports are indicating that the Knicks are absolutely interested in Dejounte Murray and want to add him to the backcourt. But I think that's for the right price. If they don't get the right price, they're going to walk away from that deal and they're going to go to another table for another player and try to get him on this roster. Who that player is anybody's guess, but it's likely going to be a role player just given all the things that we've been seeing and hearing at this point. But what about you guys? What do you think about Quentin Grimes being the key to a Dejounte Murray deal happening? Let me know in the comments below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below, and of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.